take us the next 3 or 4 weeks. There's a lot of stuff that we do with proportions and proportional relationships. And so this is a very important topic, and I would say for most of us, a lot of the stuff, at least the words, the terms that we're going to be using, is new material. But like I said, what we're going to see in these next few weeks are most of it all means about the same thing. We just call them different terms. And so we're going to start to see that tomorrow. But if something is proportional, that means that they have a constant ratio. And remember, in math, we said that constant means, anybody remember what constant means in math? It means the same. So constant means the same. You want to make a note of that. So they have the same ratio every single time, or another way to say that is they have the same unit rate. Same ratio or the same unit rate. And so the opposite of proportional is what we call non-proportional. And so if at least one of those unit rates is not the same as the others, it's non-proportional. So today we're going to be looking at different ways that we can determine if a relationship is proportional or not. So what we're going to be looking at with proportional relationships is basically seeing if there's a pattern with them. So is this, for 1, is it going to be the same as for 2 and 3 and 4? And so if it is the same, the ratios are the same, they all simplify to the same thing, which is it's also means they have the same unit rate. Also, another phrase that we might use is equivalent ratios. And you think about the word equivalent, it means equal or the same. And so if two ratios, when you simplify them, because remember, we can simplify ratios, when you simplify them, if they have the same value, we call those equivalent ratios. You're going to see that term used throughout some of these questions. Equivalent ratios, equal ratios is another way to think about that. It means when you simplify them, you get the same thing. And so notice that proportional, it all kind of goes together. It's all, looking at different ratios and seeing, if it's going to be the same whenever you simplify. So, to find if a relationship is proportional, we're going to take all of those ratios and write them as fractions, just because looking at them as fractions, it's a lot easier to simplify. We're used to doing that. And then we're going to simplify all of those ratios. If every ratio is equivalent, it's proportional. But if there is one ratio out of that entire thing, if only one is not the same as the others, then it cannot be proportional. So sometimes you're going to see all the ratios are the same except for one. That means it's not proportional. And then sometimes we are going to make tables just to organize our information. You don't have to, but as we start up today and do some of these first ones, we're going to be doing that. Another thing that this section wants you to do a lot is explain. Explain why it's proportional, explain why it's not proportional. It all goes back to the same unit rates or equivalent ratios. Those are the two reasons why we would give right now as if it's proportional. So same unit rates or a constant ratio. Those are those two reasons. Goes back to the definition. And so make sure if it tells you to explain your answer, you explain. But the reason why something is proportional or not proportional has to do with the ratios or the unit rates. So those are the two reasons we would give. So let's look at our examples. And a lot of today is just going to be explaining if a relationship is proportional or not. So the first one, Andrew earns $18 per hour for mowing lawns. Is the amount of money he earns proportional to the number of hours he spends mowing? So with proportional relationships, there's always two things. Think about a relationship. It's between two people usually. A relationship is between two different things. The two things that we have a relationship, the amount of money he gets and the number of hours he spends. So those are the two things we want to focus on. So if we're going to make a table, which is what I would do, I would put money he gets on top and the number of hours on the bottom. After 1 hour of mowing, how much money does he have? $18. So notice, we're going to look and see every hour how much does he get. So we're changing each hour. So after 2 hours, now how much total money does he have? 36. He gets another 18. Usually you want to go to about 4 and make sure that it's all the same. After 3 hours, well, is he still just getting 18 every hour? Is that changing any? Nope, not changing, so it would be another plus 18, so 54. Then after 4 hours, you add another 18, which is 72. Okay, so one thing I want us to make sure we don't get confused with proportional relationships. Is it going up the same amount every time? It's going up by what? But is that a reason why it's proportional? No. It's not a reason why we can say it's proportional. We've got to find the unit rates or we've got to simplify the ratios. So the reason why I like to write it as a table is because every one of these sections is a different ratio. 18 to 1, 36 to 2, 54 to 3, 72 to 4. Those are all different ratios. To find a unit rate, what operation do we do? Let's think back. Way before fall break. What operation do we use to find unit rates? You divide. So we would do 18 divided by 1. I'm going to write the unit rate down here. 18 over 1, or 18. What's 36 divided by 2? 18. 54 divided by 3. And 72 divided by 4. 18. So all of these get us a unit rate of 18, which means this is proportional. So we're going to say it is proportional. And it also tells us to explain. So you need to make sure that we say it's proportional because, and for this one, we found the unit rate. And the unit rates were all the same. So the reason we would give is that all the unit rates are 18, or 18 over 1. Because the unit rates so it's proportional because the unit rates are all 18 or 18 over 1. You could have also said it's proportional because it has a constant ratio of $18 every 1 hour. So the same unit rates or the constant ratio, same ratio, those are the two reasons why we could give for being proportional. So on these questions, make sure that you explain if it tells you to explain. And make sure your explanation has to do with the ratios or the unit rates, depending on which one you use. Okay, let's look at our next one. So Uptown Tickets charges $17 per baseball game ticket plus a $3 processing fee per order. So the two things we're comparing, the cost of an order, is that proportional to the number of tickets ordered? So the two different things we're going to have in our table is the cost and number of tickets. Now notice it says the cost of an order. The cost of an order. So if I get one ticket, how much money do I have to pay for that entire order? $20. 17 for the ticket plus $3 for that processing fee. So let's say that you convince somebody to be your friend for a day, and the way that you convince them is you're going to pay for everything for them. And you're going to get their tickets. So you say, okay, I need 2 tickets to the game. How much money is it going to cost you? 40. How many times did you order? How many times did you order? Once. How many tickets did you get? 2. Processing fee of $3 per ticket per order. So I just called once and said, I need 2 tickets. I actually found somebody to go with me. Okay, so is it going to be 40? It's going to be 37, right? It's going to be an extra 17, so $37 for 2 tickets. Now, if you bought the tickets separately, it'd be both $20. But since you're getting them together, it's 2 tickets plus an extra $3 for that one time. So let's look at 3 tickets. Because your parents said you got to take your little sister too, and you're upset, and you also have to pay for her ticket. So I don't know why you'd be on a baseball game with your little sister, because she's probably just going to annoy you and take all your money, right? But if I get 3 tickets, it's not 60. It'd be 54, right? 17 times 3 is 51, plus another 3 is 54. So let's go ahead and stop right there. Now, first question, okay? Is it going up by the same amount every time?
No.
It is. Going up by 17, right? From 20 to 37 is plus 17. 37 to 54 is plus 17. But remember I said don't look at that, because does it have the same unit rate? No. This is 20 over 1. 37 over 2, if you were to simplify that, that would be 18 and a half. 54 over 3 simplifies to 18. So those are all 3 different unit rates. And so don't focus on if it goes up the same amount. Focus on what's the unit rate, or what's the ratio. In this case, you get 3 different ones. They're not the same. So we would say it is not proportional. And the reason why it's not proportional is because the unit rate is not the same for all of these. So the best way to determine if it's proportional or not is just to focus on those unit rates. Find the unit rate for each one, each ratio, and then see if it's the same or not. Okay, any questions on finding these relationships? All right, go ahead and do the next one on your own. Next one on your own. I would suggest kind of do the same thing that we did in the first two examples. Make a table. 1, 2, 3, 4. See if you get the same thing. Okay, so first question I want you to ask yourself is, what two things am I comparing? What two things make up the ratio? So I'll ask you, what two things make up this ratio?
The money and the week.
Amount of money in her account and the number of weeks. Okay, so those are the two things we're going to have here. So amount of money in her account and the number of weeks. Now, you could do this two different ways. You could think of, after week 1, she has $120, or you could say that was kind of week 0. That's what she starts with. It doesn't really matter. You could say after week 1 she had 120, or after week 1 she had 140. It's still going to get you the same answer at the end. So I'm going to say after week 1, let's say that was 120. But once again, it doesn't matter. If you did 140 because she deposited the $20 in week 1, that's fine as well. So after week 2, if I do it this way, how much money does she have in her account? 140. You're just going up by 20 every week. After week 3, she would have 160. Week 4 would be 180. Okay, so then we've got to simplify each of these ratios. So 120 over 1 just gets you 120. Well, is 140 over 2 equal to 120? No, it's equal to 70. So already I've done enough. I don't even need to go any further. Because I know that this is enough. Since one of these is not the same as the other, that's enough to say it's not proportional. So our answer would be it's not proportional. Because, and as long as I see this, that you've got one that's 120, one that's 70, you can just say it's not proportional because the unit rates are not the same. Okay, any questions there? No? Let's look at one more. So in a recipe of fruit punch, you add half a cup of sugar for every 1 envelope of drink mix. The amount of sugar proportional to the amount of mix. So what 2 things are we comparing? 2 things are we comparing first of all? Go ahead, Taylor, what are we comparing? Okay, amount of sugar and the amount of mix. Right? So 1 envelope of drink mix, what's going to go under sugar?
1.
Okay. Let's go up another one. 2 envelopes. What would that be for sugar? 1. Yep. What about for 3? 1.5. We're just adding a half every time. And then for 4, be 2. Okay. So now let's simplify and see if we get the same unit rate. 1/2 over 1, that's just 1/2, right? Anything divided by 1 is just itself. Well, notice 1 over 2 is 1/2. What's 1.5 over 3? Yep, I heard it, 1/2. And what can we simplify 2 over 4 to? 1/2. So, is this proportional?
Yes.
It is proportional. Proportional because for this one, yes, this is a unit rate, but unit rates need to have what number on the bottom? 1, right? So let's say instead, let's say that the ratios are all constant. Because constant ratios means they're all the same. So let's use this explanation instead. So it's proportional because the ratios are all constant. So remember, those are the 2 different reasons you can give for it being proportional. Constant ratios, remember, constant means the same. So it's the same ratio, which is 1 to 2 or 1/2. Or you could say it's the same unit rates. Okay? So any questions there? You're just seeing from that information, is something proportional or is it not? The last 2 on your paper, we're going to look at that type of question tomorrow. And so we're going to stop right there and got some questions for you all to work on right now. And then tomorrow, so keep this, tomorrow we'll pull this back out, finish it up, and then do a few more types of questions.